It's not about causing problems, conflict, or even provoking violent protests at Vancouver's Anza Club this evening. It's more about recognition and celebration for the people of Venezuela. This is the song for the Bolivarian Revolution, or, as it's also called, Un canto por la Revolución Bolivariana, and the music can be heard. The purpose of the event is to bring together both Canadians and the Venezuelan community to celebrate the harsh election that took place a year ago in Venezuela on April 14, 2013, where revolutionary forces faced a difficult time amid grieving the loss of President Hugo Chavez, as well as commemorating the people's victory 12 years ago when they rescued Chavez and took him back to the presidential palace.
For the celebration of this very important event in the history of Venezuela, and also a very important event in the sense that, again, Venezuela is under attack by both the right-wing and fascist forces internally in the country and by the reactionary forces in the surrounding countries.
The constant interference from the United States and other countries in power has provoked revolutionary forces in Venezuela to fight against any political conflicts similar to those seen in other countries such as Egypt, Syria, and more recently in Ukraine.
In Haiti, they are interfering in the Ukraine, they're interfering in Venezuela and in Cuba, and it's the duty of the Canadian workers and all the Canadian people to do our duty here to block that voice, block those forces, and give rise to an anti-war government in Canada, and do our part here to...
The Vancouver Bolivarian Society is a human rights non-governmental organization that works in Canada to help the poor and the working class people of Venezuela obtain necessity things such as proper education and housing, while also educating Canadians on the benefits that the revolution in Venezuela has been able to give to its people.
We try to educate people of what's going on in Venezuela, and the most important thing is because all the things that are happening in Venezuela are happening in Canada, and since the Venezuelan people is having some benefit from having a participatory democracy instead of a directed democracy like the one we are living in Canada. We think it's very important for the Canadian people to make conscious of what, or to be aware of what's going on in Venezuela and to learn of what's going on in Venezuela.
The Consulate of Venezuela in Vancouver has seen the importance of informing the public in Vancouver about the concerns and issues in Venezuela, because not only does it affect people who have family and friends back home, but there is a lot of misinformation online and in the news that is giving the wrong idea and thus provoking unnecessary violence and conflict.
Not to get fooled by the corporate media, a media that's been running a terrible campaign against the country, trying to criminalize the Bolivarian Revolution and the Venezuelan president, now in power, Nicolás Maduro, the very same way they did with Hugo Chavez before, now our late president. So please don't get fooled. Please try to look for other sources of information. Remember, the corporate media, whatever the corporate media says, you gotta think twice about what they're saying, what their objective is. Why are they saying that? Who's going to be benefited by those things? And certainly it's not going to be the Venezuelan people right now. What they are doing is to make the country, the whole world, and the goodwill people believe that in Venezuela we are having a dictatorship, a government that is going against democracy, and it's not so.
Despite an unsuccessful campaign undertaken by the right wing to achieve the end of Chavismo, local artists and the Venezuelan community in Vancouver are going to continue to help and fight against any type of violence in order to keep the Chavismo alive throughout Latin America. As quoted by the current President Maduro in 2013, Chavismo is alive, and it is a majority social force that will be decisive along this 21st Venezuelan century and for the new developing Latin America and Caribbean. For Langara News, Marie Del Cid.